Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to Musings this Monday. My name is Elizabeth Manikin from the Ackland Art Museum. I am joined by my colleague and co-host Allison Portnow-Lathrop, and today's special guest, Tarish, Jeghetto, Pipkins, and we'll get to Tarish in a minute. Thanks so much for being here.
Thanks for having me.
For those of you who are new to Musings, Musings is a deck of cards comprised of quotes, questions, prompts from artists, museum educators, philosophers, critics. Some are serious, some are silly, some are somewhere in between. But all are meant to prompt critical thought about the role of art, the role of museums in our lives and in the greater world. And today we have Tarish here to think about some musings alongside of all of us.
All right, I'm ready.
All right, thanks, Elizabeth. So we're so happy to have you, Tarish. We are looking forward to your performance for the Intergalactic Solstice next weekend, where you'll be performing Pinocchio. We're really excited.
Yes.
And
the reboot.
The reboot version, right?
Yes.
Yeah, we're excited to have this version where we're connecting it with our installation called Project Lax that's on view at the Ackland Art Museum, although we can't be in the galleries to see it, but you'll be lucky enough to film from the galleries. So that's exciting.
Yeah, I'm excited about that as well. To be in that space with that mural is going to be incredible.
Exactly. We're so looking forward to it. So let's get to our question for today, our musing to ponder together. We have two quotes and then a question to sort of think through some of the implications of these quotes. The first is by Louise Bourgeois, and she says, "Something is a work of art when it has filled its role as therapy for the artist. I don't care about the audience. I'm not working for the audience."
Yes.
And in contrast, we have
that is so me. I just want to throw that in there.
Exactly.
Yes.
Duchamp, by contrast, says, "All in all, the creative act is not performed by the artist alone. The spectator brings the work in contact with the external world by deciphering and interpreting its inner qualification." So, which of these 20th century artists do you agree with, and why?
I'm going to go with number one for 500, Alex.
All right. Tell us.
Yes. As far as people say, well, why do you do art? I say I do art because I have to. It's just like eating, drinking. It's that dopamine release where I solve a problem. Especially I figure out how to work a puppet or manipulate a puppet a certain way. Once that challenge is resolved and I get to solve a problem physically, with a puppet, that's gratifying to me to the point I have to keep doing it just to keep my sanity. And that's basically how I attack all my art, because I'm a visual artist as well. I do murals. So everything visual is geometry, sacred geometry to the level where I am. As far as portraits, you have to get the face exact or it doesn't look like that person. If the eyes are off or even if the eyebrows are arched a certain way, it changes the look. So think like human realism to me is my biggest challenge. So puppetry is perfect for that. When I do realistic puppets, I really focus on the actual realism of the puppet. If it's a commission, like a historic piece, like I have a Frederick Douglass puppet, I really had to focus. It had to look like him, obviously, but even to get the mannerisms, and I did my research and just the way he held his body and everything, I try to incorporate that into the puppet. But, looking at old photos and whatnot. So all of the research, the discipline of puppetry, I do painting, writing. So I do all of these in one discipline now. Yeah. And it's total therapy to me. And when I perform a show, it's good for people to be there, but I don't care if it's just a handful of people. You'll get a very intimate, awesome show with a lot of attention versus a theater with 1,000+ people where they're all focusing in, but they're not even there to me. They don't exist. It's not about the audience. It's cool, it's a plus, but I'm doing this for me, especially the content of my work and just the process alone. I can sit for hours. My wife will text me from the studio like, okay, it's time to come in. Like, oh man, it's 3:30 in the morning. You know what I mean? But I wake up with 3 or 4 hours of sleep, but I'm rejuvenated and ready for the next day because my therapy was being, done all the day before. So my art is definitely therapy, and the crowd is a plus. It's nice, people come to my shows, but even if they didn't, even for now, this pandemic showed me that I really don't care for audience, because now I've converted everything to video, which is even more awesome for me. So if the crowds come back, it's cool, but I'm actually enjoying this video part of this whole process for me.
Yeah.
So it's,
oh, sorry, keep going.
No, go ahead. I'll stop.
I was going to say it's really fascinating to hear you talk about it, because that quality of attention and that immersive attention and just being in sort of that flow state and thinking about what you're doing and the very specific, the symmetry or asymmetry of a face, or really being dialed into what you're doing. I find so many people are increasingly distracted and sort of all over the place because of the screens that we're on, all the time, and thinking about our just increasingly distracted nature and world, and that focused attention, and thinking about like yoga, for example, or
yoga is perfect.
Like fully in and in meditation, making. And hearing you talk about making, amplifying that same sort of headspace is, I think, a really important perspective on it. Yeah.
The hyper focus actually turns into a meditation. The yoga was a good example. It's all inner for me. Or even if I can focus on something, I'm at a stage now in my creative process where I don't think about anything anymore. I'll sit and look at it, and my voice will tell me what to do, because I've tapped into something special with my art. And I'm glad you brought up the yoga, because it's the same concept of concentration and just tuning everything else out.
Yeah. How does that work?
And I have one perfect example of the quote that I agree with. I have an example of a good friend who went to a Miles Davis concert. And he said a few minutes into his set he was playing, he tripped and fell backwards and landed on his back, and did the rest of his set laying there on his back. Like, didn't care about the audience at all. And he said it was one of his best shows he's ever seen. And he laid on his back looking up at the ceiling and played the whole, never moved. That's focus. That's tuning out, what I mean? And tapping into wherever he was. Like, it's a crazy story, but I absolutely love it.
Mm-hmm.
I love that story. But yeah.
With when you're performing, I know you perform with other people too. Like, how do you get sort of in the same flow with them? Like, how do you know you're working on the same level?
Like, we're honing in and pushing all our energy into the puppet. That's the focus is there. Once you have a point of focus and everyone focuses on that point, that's where this symmetry and all the energies combine to make that one thing move. Especially if it's like a Boon Raku style puppet where it's like three or more people working that same puppet. It's really easy to hyper focus once you have a mission where you're either like if you're working the arms and another person the legs, you really have to sync and put your people together. So yeah.
Well, for those of you watching at home, Tarish has brought up so many important points about not only the process of making, but also sort of the performance of those works that's so embedded in his work as a puppeteer and hip opera composer, and also the other facets of visual art. So we encourage you to think about what matters to you in the art that you make, whether it's music, visual art, performance, and does the audience matter in the kind of work you're doing? The performance upcoming won't have a live audience.
No audience. Yeah, exactly.
Allison, you want to talk a little bit more about what people can expect and look forward to?
Yeah, well, we will be recording it live. Tarish will be in the galleries, and people will be seeing it in real time as it's performed. And then one of the great things, as you register on our website, ackland.org, you can ask a question that we'll have for the Q&A discussion at the end of the performance. And then we'll also take questions live. So there are lots more ways to get to know about Tarish's art and to ask questions about the performance once you've seen it. So yeah, it'll be Friday, June 19th.
June 19th, 3:30.
3:30 p.m.
4 o'clock Q&A.
Yeah, exactly. Followed by the live Q&A, and we're really excited to see it.
I'm excited for you to see it. I'm working on it now, and adding scenes and yes, Pinocchio. Live with the Ackland website. Yes. Thank y'all so much for inviting me to this.
We'll see you there on Friday, and we'll see you next Monday for another Musing. Thanks.
Yes.
Thanks so much.
Awesome. All right. Thanks. See y'all then.